He laughed so hard, he nearly dropped his coffee. The construction site was buzzing with the usual noise, grinding metal, the thud of boots on gravel, and the idle chatter of workers passing the time between tasks. But that morning, a different sound broke through. Laughter. Not the kind shared among friends, but the sharp, mocking kind. The source? A rolled-up blueprint held awkwardly in the hands of a woman wearing worn jeans, a faded jacket, and boots far too clean for a work site. She stood at the edge of the site trailer, quiet but firm, her eyes fixed on the man in the hard hat who had just burst out laughing at her design. "This," he scoffed, holding the paper like it was a napkin doodle. "This isn't architecture. This is fantasy." The others joined in. "You sure you're in the right place, lady?" someone muttered. Another chimed in. Maybe she thought this was an art exhibit. She didn't flinch, didn't fire back. She just stared at them for a long moment, eyes not angry, not embarrassed, just knowing. Then she rolled up the blueprint, turned silently, and walked away, the mud clinging to her boots with each step. None of them knew who she was, or where she came from. What they didn't see were the calluses on her hands, not from design work, but from survival. They didn't know she had once slept behind abandoned scaffolding, using crumpled plans as blankets, dreaming not of comfort, but of structures that could change lives. Structures that would make the world impossible to ignore her again. That day, she disappeared as quietly as she'd arrived. Weeks passed. The blueprint was forgotten, until one of the city inspectors showed up on site, waving a stamped approval form. "This location's been reassigned," he said flatly, "to a new development." The construction manager blinked. "What new development?" The inspector pointed toward the old blueprint, still tacked to a corkboard inside the trailer, mostly as a joke. "That one. It's been approved. Fast-tracked. City's excited. They say it's going to put this district on the map." The silence that followed was louder than any jackhammer. The same workers who had mocked the design now scrambled to understand what had happened.
How? Why?
Who had the power to greenlight a project so quickly, and why her? Rumors spread that she had friends in government, that she was secretly funded by a billionaire philanthropist, that she was part of a reclusive architecture think tank working on sustainable cities of the future. But none of it explained the way the city's zoning board had not only approved her plan, but called it visionary, transformative, and a model for urban recovery. More strange coincidences followed. Supplies that were perpetually delayed started arriving early, delivered by companies the construction manager hadn't even contacted. Surveyors began showing up without requests. Permits were expedited. And most mysterious of all, the land deed for the entire lot had quietly changed hands. The new owner? A shell corporation traced back to a trust fund that had no name, no address, and no paper trail. Then one morning, a new crew arrived. Not hired. Not announced. They came in silent trucks, marked only with a single insignia, a circular symbol with 4 lines branching outward, almost like a compass. They didn't speak much, but their work was fast.
Clean.
Unmistakably precise. The original construction crew watched in awe and confusion as their site transformed. Her blueprint wasn't just a building. It was a vision, a massive, multi-purpose structure designed to house low-income families, community arts, tech incubation spaces, and rooftop agriculture. But the design wasn't flashy. It was human, practical, purposeful, like she knew exactly what the neighborhood needed before anyone else did. City officials began calling it a social miracle. Local news stations picked up the story. The hashtag Blueprint of Hope began trending as influencers and activists praised the mysterious woman who dared to dream differently. Still, no one could find her. Until one day, near completion, a young architect arrived on site, holding a single envelope. She asked to speak privately with the foreman. Inside the envelope was a letter. Handwritten, clean, deliberate. Asterisk, when I stood here before, I was treated like a mistake. But I knew what I was building was bigger than any opinion. I didn't need to be seen. I just needed the city to feel it. This project is not mine. It's yours now. Use it to build better futures. Don't repeat the past. Don't ignore the quiet ones. Because sometimes the best architects aren't the loudest. They're the ones who see what others never bother to look for. Asterisk. No signature.
Just the symbol again.
The foreman folded the letter slowly, looked up, and asked, "Who are you people?" The woman only smiled. "Just builders of second chances." And then she left.
No ceremony.
No press conference. Just like before, silent steps fading into the city she had quietly reshaped. But her name, or lack of it, no longer mattered. The building stood as a living blueprint, not just of architecture, but of belief. That greatness doesn't need applause. That real power often comes from silence. That dreams drawn in mud and worn paper can still rewrite skylines. To this day, when new hires walk past the building and ask about its unusual design, the old workers just say, That's the one we laughed at." And then pause, because they know what it really means. Sometimes, the one you dismiss is the one who is always 10 steps ahead.